Facebook, for those who do not know, has changed its, quote, hate speech policy in the wake of this war in Ukraine. And among the other things that they're doing, his platforms, Meta's platforms, are now going to allow Facebook and Insta users in some countries to call for violence against Russians and Russian soldiers, not civilians. But if you want to post death to Russian invaders, that's fine now. Didn't used to be. You can't say kill all Russian civilians, but you know, depending on what Mark Zuckerberg feels, you can call for violence against certain Russians now, as long as you don't divulge a certain location or the specific method by which. I mean, this is like Big Brother crazy stuff where he's going to be controlling every other sentence uttered on his platform. Richard, what do you make of it?
I think it's despicable. And I think it's breaking the most fundamental part of the First Amendment. And I think that we've fattened us up so that we can be cut up into thin strips and put on the stupid grill. Mm-hmm. And the real problem is that he's not calling for this, he says, as a geopolitical fight. He's saying that he has freedom of speech, and as an owner of the First Amendment, he tells you what's fair and balanced. Calling for the incitement to violence and the reform of the "it's okay to let's assassinate Vladimir Putin" is not what was meant and is not meant today.
This is, of course, the continuation of his behavior when it comes to censorship. He'll allow that, but he won't allow posts he deems to be COVID misinformation, even if they later turn out to be perfectly correct. Of course, it was big tech that was behind the story in the news this week, which is the censorship of the New York Post reporting on Hunter Biden, which now, as of today and as of earlier this week or last week, the New York Times and the Washington Post just yesterday have had to admit was accurate reporting, right? They censored it with the help of big tech. So this is an ongoing pattern where these overlords decide what's okay for us to hear and what's not okay for us to hear. And if these were small little platforms that we could ignore, that would be one thing, but they're not.
No, there is a complete, apparently, a lack of trust in the brains of our young people. We think that they will be putty in the hands of an influencer or a social network owner, and this happens and has been happening since social media has been our constant companion for many years. And we may not be able to affect what the leaders of the Russians do on the ground in the pay of a foreign government. But we have our own rules, and they are the most important rules we have. We have ethics and values expressed not on a list at the end of the Constitution, but right smack dab in the middle of the Constitution are the things that they say are irrefutable and basic. When you see a Russian host or hostess refer to the leader of a country that has hundreds of millions of inhabitants and don't know why we let him, why is it that we're letting him do that? It's because we are reinterpreting the First Amendment's first speech. when he said, go ahead.
I was just going to say, what do you think they should do? Because, if you, and I know you're a free speech supporter, a First Amendment supporter, where do you think he should be drawing the line, if anywhere, right? Like, there are certain categories over here that we don't recognize as constitutionally protected, very limited, very tiny category. But what do you think he should be doing with respect to Russia and beyond?
No, not what he should be doing. It's what we should be doing. Direct television took Russian television off American television. And not only was that wrong, but that ended up being about 15 channels and all on cable. And we have rules and they can come on cable television without any look around. And when that happened here, I went through the roof. So I've discovered that now there really is a way to beat what we call freedom of speech. We don't got it.
Yeah, well, we just pulled the plug now, because to your point earlier, there's a belief we can't handle it. We can't handle RT, right? That somehow we're not going to be able to understand propaganda.
We are not as bright, not as intelligent as all the generations between 1787 and now. And that ain't so. That's just an advertiser's dream. And the problem is, you have to trust the system. You have to trust not that you can be ultimately a 2 or 3 people, one of whom works on the street that says, work here for us. Work here for us means only one version gets in. And there's no such thing as one version of history. I was sitting in Austria at a table filled with journalists, and we were talking about history. And I said that it's not valid to just give one version. And the journalist sitting there said, that's not so. I'm a journalist, my friends are journalists, and we deal in the truth. And I said, excuse me, you do no such thing. If that was true, there would only be one person sitting at this table. And the fact is, history is different opinions about what happened in the past. And that difference of opinion makes all the difference. And people have to learn to hear them both.
It's been kind of scary to see how verboten certain viewpoints are being treated, even domestically. As, for example, people who are questioning the narrative that that the Ukraine has done absolutely nothing wrong, and that the United States has a moral obligation to get more involved and to take the lead in protecting Ukraine. Now, I understand most people feel that way, but for those who don't feel that way, why can't they express their position? Like that's what concerns me. This is America. We used to march to protect the rights of skinheads and white supremacists to spew their hatred because we believed in the principle of the free expression of opinion, not because we supported their opinion, because we support the freedom to express one's opinion, even if it's incredibly controversial. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.